The Voice 17104.com. This is Zanetta Wingfield, and you're listening to The Voice 17104.com. The Voice 17104.com. This ain't no ordinary.
Worldwide, faith-based, community-driven streaming media. This is The Voice 17104.com from the Allison Hill District of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Now broadcasting community radio from Studio A and community television from Studio B on The Voice 17104.com.
Live from the Voice 17104.com Studio B, it's the Ron Chapel Show featuring news, conversation, and entertainment. Now, here's the host of the show, Mr. Ron Chapel.
Thank you, Pastor Chris Thomas. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ron Chapel, and welcome to the show. Now, let me first apologize for that momentary delay because we do like to start promptly at 8 p.m., but we had a slight camera adjustment. We had to make it the last minute, but we're here, you're here, and that's what's most important. First, let me give you some programming notes before we get into tonight's broadcast. Coming soon here at the Voice 17104.com, your internet station, Mother Harrison will be hosting a spiritual program, and that's coming in the next few weeks, possibly premiering next week. Okay, it'll be on Thursday night beginning at 7 p.m. Okay, now let me recognize the engineer, Pastor Chris Thomas. How you doing, sir?
God bless you, man, and good evening. Grace and peace, brother. Good to see you tonight.
Yeah, so you're busy as ever, as usual. Okay, tonight, folks, as advertised, you've seen the videos. You've seen the flyers, you've heard a lot of talk, a lot of banner in the community about this young lady that's running as a write-in candidate for Magisterial District Court 12-1-01. 02. I stand corrected. And now you're going to meet her tonight up close and personal. So let me present our very special guest this evening, Miss Autumn Fair. Thank you, Pastor Thomas. Good evening, Miss Fair. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Pastor Thomas, as well.
Okay, all right. So tonight we're going to have an in-depth, up-close and personal interview with Miss Autumn Fair. And Chris, you showed me how to turn the camera off on my portion because when Miss Autumn Fair speaks, I want only her on the camera. And so I'm going to do that right now. Okay, Ms. Autumn Fair. Now, let's begin at the beginning. Okay, tell everybody who Autumn Fair is, and where you grew up at, and things like that. Let everybody know exactly who you are.
Who I am. I am Autumn Fair. I am the write-in candidate for Magisterial District Judge, District Court 12-1-02. That is the court, the local level court that serves the Midtown and Uptown Harrisburg area. I am a public servant and community leader, born and raised right here in the city of Harrisburg, graduate of Harrisburg High, class of 1997. What else you want to know?
Okay, you're also a school teacher in the Harrisburg Public School System?
I am no longer an employee with the Harrisburg School District as of July 31st because I am that vested in this campaign. Okay,
I understand. You know, I'd often wondered about that. I think there's something about the Hatch Act. You know, if you work for the government, I think, from what I can recollect, you cannot be involved in political matters, as I understand. I might be misquoting that. But let me ask you, okay, why are you running for Magisterial District Judge?
I'm running for Magisterial District Judge for 3 different reasons. One, because I believe our community deserves a choice in the candidate. For 36 years, the same family name has held that seat. And as I mentioned, we deserve a choice. 2, because my name was removed from the ballot. My name was removed from the ballot by a legal political tactic that has been used years and years and years. And I am simply here to fight for what I believe our community deserves. And then third and most important, because I am a qualified, experienced, prepared, and proven candidate and public servant in this community, looking to simply serve us at a higher level while honoring the law and representing the people.
Okay, now your name was removed from the ballot via challenge, I believe,
That is correct.
which is a legal process. Okay, and because being a past candidate, former candidate, before I have challenged individuals, and so that is a legal process. But you felt that it was done, I believe, in a malicious way, or how do you feel about that? Why do you think that that you were really challenged? What's the story behind that?
I do not believe the challenge was done in good faith. I believe the challenge was done so that the current candidate would sit unopposed on the ballot, as he does, as both a Democrat and a Republican, with no one else's name listed.
Okay, and I think that the community is quite familiar with the last name of the candidate, and we're going to mention his name, and I'm going to say that we're also will give him space if he wants to come on the program to tell us why he should be selected. We're going to be fair about it, and so we're going to make the space available to him also, and that'll be this month only. And because next month there will be a fee with appearances. Okay, so Ms. Autumn Fair, tell us, why should you be selected as a magistrate in 12-1-02?
Well, one of the reasons I should be selected is because I am here rooted in the community. As I mentioned, born and raised in the community, but not just that, visible every day. Although I am no longer an employee with the Harrisburg School District, I do substitute a few days a week in between campaigning and canvassing here in the community. I am also qualified by the Pennsylvania Minor Judiciary Education Board, which is the only qualifying agency here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I took the Magisterial District Judge exam, and unlike most people, I passed it on the first run.
Okay.
That is the criteria to sit in the courts.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, that is a plus. You know, recently we had a judge that retired, and she used to sit over here on, what's that street, over here by 15th, Marcia Stewart. Okay, and I understand for the longest, she had sat in that seat as magistrate, and she had not yet taken the exam. And here you're taking the exam right at the door, you know, and so that's to be commended. Okay, now, so you are no longer with the Harrisburg School District. And so let me ask you, how was summer? And how'd you spend your summer?
How was summer? That's a great question. So I spent most of the summer in the courses for Magisterial District Judge. So it's about a 4 to 5 week course, just about 7 or 8 hours per day. Class begins around 8 o'clock in the morning and ends most days sometime in between 4 and 5 o'clock. So we did that 5 days a week, most weeks, nonstop, with attorneys, prosecutors, legal experts teaching us the law. We learned civil law, we learned criminal law, we learned drug codes and drug schedules, and just the full scope of what could be taught to us within those first 30 days. So that is how I spent most of the summer. After that, I got to spend 30 days with my 2-year-old nephew who came to visit.
Okay, did you do any campaigning during the summer?
So I did do some campaigning towards the end of the summer. Immediately after the primary election, a criminal investigation was launched. And so I wanted to hold off until the conclusion of that before I got back out campaigning.
Okay, has that investigation concluded?
It has. The investigation has now concluded.
Okay, now I recollect back during election day, there was some incidents that happened that may have been spurred by your opponent in his campaign. And, would you care to touch on some of those things that happened to you as a candidate?
I am happy to touch on that as best as I can. As far as I know, the opponent was not found criminally charged in anything or any proven association to anything that did happen. It is my understanding that on election day, some of my volunteers were approached and threatened, physically threatened, by people who represented the opponent. Again, there was no connection to the opponent that was able to be proven through the criminal investigation.
Okay, there was an incident I recall you speaking about with you and a constable at the 6th and McClay. I believe that's the YMCA polling spot. Do you care to talk about that at all?
I'm happy to talk about that. That was at 6th and Division at Camp Curtin School, which is one of the wards where community members can vote for me. And on the day of election, a state constable was there as an armor bearer, as protection at the polling place. It is the only of the 7 polling places that had a state constable at it. It just so happened to be the same state constable who served me the paperwork challenging my petitions. It also happened to be the same state constable who notarized petitions for the opponent. It also is the same state constable who has previously been listed on financial statements by the opponent family. So there is some connection to the family. However, it is the understanding that in that day, the constable was operating in the capacity of a Pennsylvania state constable.
Okay, well, there was an incident that you spoke of back then where you were approached by that state constable, and I think you said that she had even brushed up against you, trying to remove you or something. How did that happen?
That is true. So the constable went to kind of prevent me from being able to stand in certain areas in front of the polling site, and it was in an aggressive manner. It was very much in a protective and biased manner from my perspective. She was very attached to the opponent family, the opponent camp at the polling place, and it was with my volunteers that these policies were being enforced. So the rule, my understanding of the rule is you have to be within 10 feet of the doors. However, those rules only apply to our camp. It did not apply to their camp. And I simply stood on the position that, same thing I plan to do in the court, that the rules have to be fair. They have to be evenly distributed. We have to be just and equitable in how we treat everybody. So it was no different.
Okay, so do you think that constable was working in conjunction with the Pianka campaign?
I absolutely think that, and I stand on that.
Okay, there was a mention that former Judge Jimmy Pianka was allowed to be inside of those, you say 10 feet?
Yes, that is correct.
And he was closer to the door than they would allow you to be.
That is correct.
Okay, and also, I want to make mention that where's Waldo, Matt Pianka, which a lot of y'all in the community haven't seen, you may not have seen until election day. I did a little volunteer work with your campaign in full disclosure, and I worked over at this church over here on 3rd Street, doggone it, 3rd by the library. Name escaped me right now. Yes, Goodwin Church, okay. And I worked in the back in the parking lot, and Waldo or Matt Pianka was sitting about 4 feet from the door. Matter of fact, they had set up a little canopy in a handicapped parking spot at that. And he was allowed to sit there and approach voters as they walked in to vote. And I thought that was quite illegal. It was illegal and it was wrong, because I know that there were other candidates out there and their workers that were trying to solicit votes, and they were made to stay really beyond the parking lot, at the far end of the parking lot, way over by the sidewalk. But they allowed Matt Pianka to sit right by the door. You recall sitting there?
I do.
Ms. Fair?
I do. They were set up right at the door. While again, we were told to stay 10 feet or more away.
Yes, it seemed like it was more than 40 or 50 feet away where everybody was seated. Would you care for some water?
Yes, please.
Okay, pardon me just a moment. Chris, you got the water? Okay, and so now Did anyone from your campaign approach the judge of that polling place?
At Goodwin or other
Yes,
polling
Ed,
places?
Ed Goodwin.
Did anyone from my camp approach a judge at Goodwin? Not that I'm aware.
Okay, because I think that had someone approached the judge of the polling place, and the judge of the polling place, these polling places is like the executive director. You know, they have jurisdiction over that polling place, you know, and also to enforce the rules, you know, the rules that are set down by the election commission. You know, because state constable, you mentioned the state constable in Pennsylvania, a state constable is the only law enforcement officer that can be directly at the polling place. They have jurisdiction of that polling location. And as a matter of fact, even a Harrisburg City police officer or a state police officer cannot come within a certain distance of their polling place unless they are summoned by the judge of the polls, judge of the polling place. And so I hope that this time in the general election, if you're still a candidate in the general election, I do believe you will be. I hope that people would take note that if something like that occurs again, to go directly to the judge of the polling place to have that situation rectified.
Mr. Chappell, if you would
Yes,
allow me
ma'am.
to
Please,
add,
please
although
do.
I did not contact any judges at the polling place, I did contact the election bureau regarding some issues because the opponent camp first contacted them for issues regarding us. And there were two polling places where the opponent was observed going inside, once accompanied by a judge. And so I did call those out to the election bureau. So I
Yeah.
did at least want to put that on record.
Now, accompanied by a judge, you say?
Mhm.
The judge of the polling place or a,
The judge of the polling place.
okay, and so there seemed to have been some association between the candidate and the judge of the polling place. And what location was that?
There were two. This was at Fifth, near Fifth and Maclay at Governor Square Community Center. And then also, I believe the other one was Camp Curtin. Don't hold me to, I don't recall the second one, but there were two that were documented.
Okay, okay. And so I asked you about, you know, have you been doing a lot of campaigning in that magisterial district? Do you know roughly about how many voters reside in that district?
I do, I have all the data. I have, when you said, what have I done this summer?
Yes.
I spent the summer breaking down and analyzing all of the data. There's just a little under 9,000 registered voters in our district.
Oh, okay. And how many of those voters do you think, or have you or your campaign approached directly?
We are going in order, and we have hit the doors of every single one, starting at the beginning. So without saying how many, I don't want to give out that information, but we are going through the entire list with the intention of hitting every single voter.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's good.
More
That's
than
good.
once.
Now, give folks out there that may not be familiar, because I've seen your YouTube. I mean, I've seen your Facebook videos, and they play to everybody, even to a lot of people that don't live in the 12-102 Magisterial District. What are the street boundaries of the district?
That's a great question, Ron. So
How about a great answer then?
I got you. Street
Okay.
boundaries. So at the start of the show, we talked a little bit about the St. Moritz. Right beyond where the St. Moritz was is Forster Street.
Yes.
So that is the starting line for the district.
Okay.
And it runs from there to where the city line ends and starts at Susquehanna Township. So all the way up to the 3,300 block of most streets, Front Street, Second Street, Penn Street, all the way up. Now, we have a little bit of a gap. So there was some redlining done here in the city.
Okay.
And between Maclay and Division, the line cuts at 4th Street. So they cut a nice gap out uptown out, a nice gap of a certain demographic of people out that no longer vote for this office, but they added a huge part of Midtown.
Okay, what about beyond the Uptown Plaza, that area back there?
Yep, that too. So it's up Hoffman Street, 6th Street, all the way up that end. It's gonna be Lewis Street, Vaughn Street. And then even it goes as far as Industrial Road behind Hack. So from Forster Street, as we mentioned, up to where the city line goes at Susquehanna.
Okay, okay. You know, there are plenty of businesses, stores, I believe there's a couple of gas stations and yeah, a lot of corner stores in that Midtown area. And I've never yet to see one of your flyers or one of your posters at any of those locations. Why do you think that is?
Where have you been?
I've been all over uptown and
Okay.
midtown. As a matter of fact, I've got a part-time job uptown, and I haven't seen a autumn fair flyer anywhere or a yard sign.
So you're referring to general election or primary election?
I'm referring to right now.
Right now.
Yeah,
So-
over the summer and now.
So over the summer, as I mentioned, I held off until after the criminal investigation, which just recently wrapped up. You were the first person I reached out to once it was resolved. We just started meeting with businesses probably in the last 2 to 3 weeks, getting support. We are moving with a little bit of discretion because we have been told that the opponent is going around saying things that aren't true, that I don't support police, that I did not pass my exam. So we don't want to put people in the line of fire right now, where they can come behind us and say, you know, she doesn't do this, she knows she doesn't do that. So privately, we're building relationship. And when it's time for us to roll those out, we will do that.
Okay.
But please know, we are meeting every single day with people, and I mean every single day.
Okay, so we can expect to see some yard signs in the uptown and midtown area.
We started putting yard signs out today.
Okay,
We dropped by 30 today.
okay, and I believe your campaign workers would have shirts, also t-shirts.
Not while we're hitting doors. So we're not wearing t-shirts to hit doors. I normally wear a t-shirt on the weekend. I don't, during the week I'm normally dressed. My campaign team, I don't want to call them workers because they're not paid. They're doing this because they believe in the cause. My campaign team will normally wear paraphernalia or a t-shirt when I'm not there.
Okay, okay, did you bring me and Chris a t-shirt?
I will as soon as I know the signs. As soon as I know the size, I got you.
Okay.
Will you wear them?
Yes.
And will you defend my name when I'm not in the room?
I would wear your shirt, and I would recommend folks vote for you as a write-in candidate for Magisterial District
I
Judge
appreciate
in the
that.
12-1-02.
I appreciate that, sir.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it's going to take. So even when you say you're not seeing signs, when I'm connecting with people, when I'm getting commitments privately from people, what I'm asking them to do more than anything is tell 3 to 5 other people. That's what's going to do this.
Okay. Chris, I want to invite you in to see if you have a question.
Sure, I just have just one question. Again, congratulations on your efforts thus far. Very commendable. So my question is, surprisingly, and I'm happy to hear that you decided to discontinue full-time work at the school district. Because my main question was, how can the Harrisburg voters be assured that you would give 100%, being having so many irons and so many different fires? So how would you answer that question?
Absolutely. So hopefully it's already answered for you, but I spent some time on my face in conversation with God through this entire process since he's dropped this on me. And the word was focus and finish, that I had to be all the way in on this more than anything else right now. And I even shared a message with Shantae, who was here with me a couple weeks ago. I said, this is not my season to care for other people. I've spent most of my life doing this. I can't check in and ask how you're doing. I can't check in and ask what you need, because right now I have to focus on this one assignment. I'm simply here to try to help show the people their way to the promised land. That's it.
That's good. Well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So why Autumn Fair? Why should folks vote for Autumn Fair? What is your community involvement thus far?
I'll come back to that for you, but you said, why should folks vote for Autumn Fair? I want to answer that for you. So there are a couple of things that I stand on as your candidate for Magisterial District Judge, in addition to being connected, which I think our political people should be. This is a public servant job, but there are some things that I believe. One, there's some disparity in bail, right? So I did some research and it shows that Black and brown people are sentenced to cash bail at about a 58% rate compared to non-Black and brown people. I want to look to reduce that number. Everybody should be treated the same. If your crime is the same as the person's crime next to you and you both have the same criminal record, your bail should not be higher than somebody else because they look different than you. We should be looking at all of the criteria that are required by a judge. That's one thing. There needs to be accountability for actions. I had a conversation today while I was out, and somebody said, well, what do you think about truancy? And I said, well, as somebody who came through Harrisburg School District, I put my child through Harrisburg School District. I served on the Harrisburg Board of Control for Harrisburg School District, and as a public school teacher, these parents that come before the court that get sentenced truancy fines, when you go before these judges and they dismiss those, they tell you, don't worry about it, just make sure they go to school. Now, I'm not saying how I'm going to go. That doesn't solve the problem for those of us in the schools. That doesn't make these young people come to school. So there has to be some accountability for actions. There also needs to be some court accountability. Cases are piling up in these courts. Why? Why are you waiting time and time to get before the court? Because these judges are hearing 2 and 3 cases a day, and that's it. And then they go home. They literally pull in at 10 and they pull out at 2. And that's their work day for what they do. So I hope that answers just a little bit of that. But what am I doing in the community right now? Well, because of the judicial position and the governing rules for that, I had to remove myself from some organizations that I was connected to. There were some causes that I stood behind, that I rallied behind, that I cannot do anymore publicly.
Okay, what are some of the organizations?
They were organizations that promote sensible gun laws. They were organizations to reduce crime. They were organizations that rallied about the conditions at Dauphin County Prison, overpopulation. Those were the majority of them. But again, I had to remove myself from those organizations because they do look to influence law and policy in the community.
Okay, let's talk about things related to the inner city community, Midtown and Uptown specifically. Okay, have you ever resided, has your family ever resided in a rental dwelling?
Has my family ever resided in a rental dwelling? I can't say that my family did. I did. I left home when I was 16 years old, right? And so when I left home at 16, I moved into an apartment, and I lived in 2 apartments before I bought my house when I was 19. So I did reside in rental units, if that's what the question is.
Okay, was the landlord living up to their part of the bargain?
There were some things that could have been improved. There were some things that could have been improved. Yes.
Okay, the reason I brought that up, of course, because a magistrate would also hear landlord-tenant concerns. Okay, and so I want to see if you can relate to some of the things that some people may be trying to tell you when they come to court with eviction notices and the like.
Absolutely.
You know, if they have complaints that the landlord is not taking care of the property and things like that, you know, to see how you felt about those matters. Okay, has any person that you're familiar with, be it a relative or a friend or loved one, ever experienced any chemical or substance abuse or dependency?
Excuse me. I'll say yes to that. But before I say yes to that, I want to tell you, I've been a victim of a crime here in the community.
Okay, what crime was that?
My home was robbed. Also, I was robbed at gunpoint right here at 4th and Emerald, sitting in a car. Gun stuck to my head. I recently brought a civil suit against a property owner here in the city. I own my home, but the house next to me is owned by a company that's not in the city. And it was doing damage to my home. So I know both sides of it. I've been a landlord here in the city. I've owned property here in the city. So I know both sides of it. But the substance abuse thing, yes. People in my family have dealt with vices and substance abuse issues.
Okay, because I know that those type of cases will also eventually come before you sitting as magistrate. And so that's why I say that it's important to have a magistrate in your community that can relate to some of the concerns in that community. You know, as far as the other candidate, and I'm going to call his name, you know, the elephant not in the room, Matt Pianca, you know, I doubt, seriously, I don't know, but I don't think that he has lived a life with a father being a judge for decades, and a mother being a judge, I believe, for nearly a decade or more. I don't think that he had to face the same kind of concerns that everyday people in the midtown and uptown areas may face. And so I don't think that he can really relate to those matters. I don't think he can relate to those concerns. I don't think that he's ever probably handled a food stamp or a food stamp card in his life, or probably never even seen a shut off notice. And so these are different areas that a magistrate would have to sit before and listen to. And so we don't need anybody going in with their mind already made up, sitting in judgment of those type of cases that come before them. And so that's why I think it's also important. It's very important to have a member of the community sit as the magistrate in that community, because that's the first step. That's the first step to the judicial center. To the judicial world in our community is that magistrate. Tell everybody exactly what a magistrate does, Alden.
What exactly does a magistrate judge? And I want to go back and add to the drug thing, if you would allow me to. So,
Sure.
Our Magisterial District Judge in Dauphin County, first of all, it previously used to be known as the District Justice. And in comparison, in some other areas, not necessarily in Pennsylvania, it's referred to as the Justice of the Peace, right? So one of the things that they do is they marry people, but more importantly, any criminal charge that you catch within your county, within jurisdiction, your first contact is going to be with the Magisterial District Judge if it's at a state level crime. And so that is the court you go before to be arraigned. To find out if you're going to Dauphin County Prison, this is the court that's going to determine if you're eligible for bail, what the bail amount will be. This is also the court that's going to determine if the Commonwealth has enough evidence to proceed with the case, or if you get to go home. If you decide to file a civil claim against someone else, anything up to $12,000 is heard in your Magisterial District Judge office. This is also those parking tickets that we get. Those parking tickets that we don't pay, that go a little bit higher and then we still don't pay them. The next stop is your MDJ office. So those are just a few of the things that are heard in that office. And this is the judge who has the authority to rule on most of those issues.
Okay. All right.
Let me go back to the
Yeah,
drug thing.
please do. Go ahead.
So as I'm having conversation with people, some people are not realizing how long I've been here, what I've been doing here. I've even heard the opponent told people I just moved here from California to run for office. I've been here my entire life. And if you're from the city, here in Uptown Harrisburg, Midtown Harrisburg, there's an organization called the Heinz Menaker Senior Center. It's our senior citizen center here in the city of Harrisburg, where we service and entertain our older population, our aging adults. I was executive director there for almost 10 years. And in my time there, I wrote a grant that was awarded by the Dauphin County Drug and Alcohol Agency for I believe it was $30,000 for me to implement programming for drug awareness in the community. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Not only do I have the skill set to serve as judge, I have the human services piece. I have that connection to the community. I know that there are agencies available to help us out. I know that people sometimes can't pay their rent because they're paying for prescriptions. And these are the things we need to take into consideration. Not that I'm going to weigh one way or another versus tenant or landlord, but we have to look at the human piece of it. We have to look at it as more than just a case number when it comes before the court. There's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be variances. But when people stand before you, look at them with dignity and then determine how you can help before you send them on their way.
Okay. Let me ask you, you made mention that you did pass that judicial course the first time you took it, and so you made mention of that. Do you know if Matt Pianka had finished his judicial course, or did he ever take one? Do you know anything about that?
I know he was in my class.
Oh yeah, did he pass?
That I don't know, but I was told during the initial campaign that he had passed. So one of the two wasn't true. I do not know if he passed or did not pass. I was told that he is telling people in the community that I did not pass and that he did not pass the first time. So I don't know. All I know is I have my certification at home and it's also on file with Dauphin County Clerk of Courts.
Okay, and I guess, folks out there that are curious about that, they can check to see if he is certified. Okay, excuse me. We mentioned his family a little bit, his parents. Tell everybody who his parents is.
Uh, his dad is Jimmy Pianca, and his mom is the current judge, Barbara Pianca. And his dad, Jimmy Pianca, used to be the judge. My understanding is 18 plus years, and then now the mom is 12. It's total 36 years that they have sat in that seat, ruling from the bench, looking to pass it down to their son as if it is generational wealth and family business, which it is not. The seat belongs to the people. It belongs to the community.
Okay, and I'm curious about the qualifications or lack thereof of the son to sit in that seat besides having the last name Pianca.
The only thing I know is what was on his campaign literature, which was he lives in Harrisburg. He used to work for his family business at City Island, and now he has a family business. That's all it said.
Okay, what I recall, I saw one of his flyers that said, you may have seen Matt at the batting cage over on City Island. Now, if that is true, working at a batting cage, being supported by your parents, I don't think that gives anybody any time or any inclination to go out in the community to try to deal with people that live in the uptown and midtown area. Okay, let me ask you, after you are elected magistrate in the 12-1-02, your office staff, do you plan on having a diversified staff? Because I've been to Barbara Pianca's courtroom a couple of times over parking matters, over parking ticket matters, and every employee I saw in there looked just like her. I did not see one black or one brown face in the whole office in a community that serves a myriad of black and brown skinned people. Do you plan on diversifying that office?
Ron, I came across a Facebook post. You know how those memories come up? A memory from 2015 that I checked in at that office and I posted, there's no diversity in here. The same experience. You walk in and everybody looks like her. I do not know the regulating rules on how the offices are staffed, but I absolutely believe the office needs to be diverse. I know that there are language barriers in our community, so we want to make sure that we have people who at least can speak to the most common languages in our community. You want people who are reflective and mirror the actual community itself. I'm not saying push anybody out, but we need to make sure we are meeting the people we serve at the place we meet them.
Okay, I also understand that office, the courtroom is no longer in the Uptown Plaza, that it did move away and they did relocate it. Where is it located at now? Do you know?
Right now, it's next door to Dauphin County Prison, which is nowhere near this community. So if we live in this community and we have a court hearing and we don't have transportation, we can't even walk to the office anymore.
And some folks are intimidated even going into the courtroom to begin with. And now you say it's next to Dauphin County Prison.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And my hope is that once I get into the room to have the conversation with the powers that be in Dauphin County, let's figure out how we can bring this court back to its community, back into the district 12-1-02.
Okay. Now we've talked a little bit about your opponent's family. Let's talk a little bit about your family, because I happen to know your mother, your dear mother. She was a rap partner of mine back. You had mentioned us. St. Moritz days. She had worked right across the street, I believe, in the archive section of the state of Pennsylvania. Tell everybody who your mother is, because a lot of folks here may know her.
Yeah. So my mother is a historian, right? She is a political buff as well. Her name is Stephanie Bird. She is born and raised here. I think she's class of 72. But yes, that is who my mother is.
Yeah, and she was quite a civil rights activist too.
Very much still.
And Stephanie Bird.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, and so I know she's very, very proud that her daughter is stepping up in the community to make a difference.
Not just make a difference, but fight these powers that be, looking to disrupt these dirty politics. I ran into somebody while knocking on doors last week, and they said, no, I support the son because the dad is an honorable man. And I said, oh, okay. I said, you do know my name's not on the ballot because they took me to court. He sat in court all day. He said, oh, I didn't know that, but that's just cutthroat politics. That's the way it goes. That's not the way it has to go, though. We don't have to do it that way.
An honorable man. I think that he's the same person I heard that was behind trying to kick Lamont Jones off the ballot.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
I heard that too.
Yeah, and so I don't know what's honorable about that. Some say that he is really controlling City Hall. I'm not going to spread any rumors, but I understand that he was the manager of the current mayor's campaign.
I heard that too. I heard he got a key to City Hall.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. The campaign that sought to kick Aldo Banks off the ballot.
Heard that too. Don't know the validity of it, but I heard that too.
And folks just flocked to the Piancas, and I believe a lot of votes that he probably received during the primary election was because of that last name, and folks are really not familiar with that family. It's just that name sort of rang the bell to him, and so I believe that was the main reason he got the votes that he got.
Absolutely. If you know anything about business, it's really about branding. If his name was not his name, we wouldn't even know who he was in this city. Based on the criteria, based on what he's listed as his credentials, we wouldn't even know this young person exists. And even now, many of us, if he walked past us, we don't know who he is because he's not visible in our community.
Yeah, the first time I'd ever seen him was at the polling place on election day. Yeah, on election day.
Yeah, and you haven't seen him since, have you?
Now, I haven't seen him since, and also in full disclosure, you said that there was some incidents between your staff and his staff, and I can attest to that because I was one of the individuals that was approached, in a very negative way by Matt Pianca's campaign, by a black man at that. He said his name was Bullock. I forget his first name. And I know the Bullock family. I know a lot of the Bullocks here in Harrisburg. Yeah, but this brother, I wish I could remember his first name, but he was very, very aggressive, very, very rude, not only to me, but also to other campaign workers that were there supporting city council candidates.
I'm so sorry that was the experience. It was very disheartening. That day showed that they truly are the bullies and the savages, and many of the names that they're quick to label us thugs. It was just brazen, how they felt empowered to just threaten us and bully, and they're continuing to do that, which is part of why I'm continuing to fight. They don't scare me, and it's really disheartening to know even now that they have gone to people who supported me in the primary and are threatening them with things, using city services and city resources to threaten them in not supporting me moving forward. It's crazy. It's crazy. But God sees all.
Yes. Now, do you mind if we open up the telephone lines? There may be some voters out there that may have a question or a comment they want to make.
Sure, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, so if you are a Harrisburg voter, preferably in the 120102 Magisterial District, and if you have a question or a word of encouragement for Ms. Autumn Fair, please give us a call. The telephone lines are open. The number is 717-889-7181. That's 717-889-7181. Okay, so let's talk about, to me, running a campaign is like pulling a wagon up a hill. It can be done, but running a write-in campaign is like pulling a wagon loaded with bricks and slabs of concrete up a hill, and that can be accomplished too with enough help. Yeah, with enough help. And so I know that your campaign could use any volunteers or any financial input, because running for elected office is a very expensive proposition. And so if there are people out there that want to donate to your campaign, whether time or resources, how would they go about doing that?
My first suggestion would be to visit the website. The website is autumn4judge.com. There's actually an option at the top that says donate or support that you can select. It'll let you know how you can make contributions to the committee. And that way you can help us continue to get the word out. That's really what it's about. It's about awareness, letting people know how important this race is and that they have a choice. And then 2, education. Although people say a write-in campaign is hard, because the election system has changed and you don't necessarily go in and have to push buttons. When you walk in, you're given something to write with, and then you're given a ballot. So you already have a pen in your hand. All you have to do is write in my name and fill in the oval where you see Magisterial District Judge. We do need volunteers. So last election, we had about 34 people who helped cover polls. There are 7 polling places. And because I don't want anyone to be too overwhelmed, I want people to be actively engaged throughout the day, I'm looking to double that number. I need about 70 people who are willing to give me 2 to 3 hours on election day. You don't even have to live in the city. If you believe in this cause, if you believe that I will serve this community well, that I am competent and qualified to do this, and you want to rally behind us, please get in contact with us. We would love to have you on board.
Okay, and don't think that she can't win, okay, because write-in campaigns have succeeded. They have succeeded, okay, and you can help make history here in Harrisburg in November, because you can have a member of your community that runs and wins as a write-in campaign for Magisterial District Judge in the District 12-1-02. With your support and your vote, don't forget Autumn Fair. And if you live in that area, if you live in the uptown or midtown area, Autumn, and if they want to get a yard sign to place in their yard, how do they go about doing that?
Same thing. There's actually on our website, the landing page, there's an option if you want a yard sign, click on it, drop your address. We do ask for something to confirm, either email or phone number, so we can make sure you are who you are, and then we'll drop it off within a day or 2. We're happy to do that for you. Also, you can also follow us on Facebook at Autumn Fair for Magisterial District Judge, and you can connect with us that way by sending a message. But join us, be part of history. This is history in the making. We are looking to do something that has never been done, at least in this seat, in this way.
Okay, so y'all join in. So let's talk about some of the campaigning ideas. Matter of fact, because I've had a few in my mind I want to talk with you about to help get out the vote. And I tell you, it'd be an ideal time now to introduce your campaign worker here. I believe she's your, well, you'll tell everybody who she is, and then with this, then maybe we can kick around some of these ideas.
Okay, so this is Ms. Shantae P., the one and only Shantae Plummer. She is the scheduling strategist. So as the candidate for Magisterial District Judge, people are calling and messaging me and reaching out to me every single day, which I appreciate. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot for just me to manage. So she kind of helps keep those things organized for me in a way that I know what to say no to because I don't have the time slot or I'm already booked, or areas that we need to bring things in.
Okay, so this is the world famous one and only Shantae P.
Yes.
Okay, yes, I've seen your name in print many, many times, and it's an honor to finally have a chance to meet you in person. And welcome to the Ron Chapel Show.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for all the work that you're doing to make sure that we have a member of the community that'll sit as Magisterial District Judge in the 12-1-02 Magisterial District. Now, I told Autumn that I had some campaign ideas, and y'all probably have already thought of these, but I think that if some of this was implemented, it might help get out the word and also get out the vote. Now, we're going into the season of autumn. Okay, so have y'all considered producing an autumn fair? Okay, all right.
That's on the books.
Okay, now you had mentioned the Heinz Medical Center that you were a director of, you know. I think that might be, you know, a nice location to have part of it take place. You know, I can see maybe having an evening there, you know, where all the residents in the uptown and midtown district are invited, and possibly contract someone like Kenny Robb here at the Voice 17104, you know, the dean of the comedians in the state of Pennsylvania, possibly to host it. And he's very well known in the uptown area. You know, he's a very, you know, he's a legend of the uptown area. And maybe that can help drive out some votes also. And also, what about this, Shante? How about a caravan right around election time, you know, with decorated vehicles and maybe megaphones or bullhorns driving through the uptown and midtown area, asking people to remember to write in Autumn Fair? You know, I think that would also, you know, create some excitement and, you know, and some interest. You know, just drive through the neighborhoods, you know, uptown and midtown. You know, don't forget to write in Autumn Fair, write in Autumn Fair on election day.
That sounds good.
You know,
You're meaning while we're canvassing or the day
Uh,
of election?
no, before the election, maybe like maybe the weekend before, you know, the Saturday before that Tuesday, or you know, intermittently even now. You know, maybe it might be a little too early now because we're still in the month of September. I'll say maybe 2 weeks leading up to election day, and especially the weekend before the election. You know, I think that would spark a lot of interest and a lot of notoriety, you know, to get their name out there. But the Autumn Fair, okay, that y'all are thinking of, do you have a date for that? Or do you have a location? Or how far along is that in the works?
So my birthday's coming up and we're looking.
Yeah, when is your birthday?
My birthday is in October.
Okay,
October. So we're looking to coordinate a lot of campaign events early in October. So we're kind of going to celebrate my birthday all month. I'll be 45, and I think that's to be celebrated. So we're looking to do 45 days of campaign events.
okay, that's fantastic, fantastic. Yep. Would you like to say anything, Ms. B?
Yes, always. Get out and vote. Remember autumn. A few things that stuck out listening to the interview was her, who is she? She is you, she is me, she is us. I just want to say when you go to court, when you're presented in front of a judge, you don't always need to look like me. You don't always have to be a person of color. But I want you to be relatable. I want you to know that when I'm standing in front of you, you personally may not have experienced this, but like you said, a family member, a neighbor.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. I need to know that. Have you ever been evicted before? Have you ever had to go against your landlord before? Have you ever had to choose, like she said, to pay rent or pay prescription? So that's what I wanna say. She's relatable. You have to know that when you stand in front of her, she's gonna hold you accountable. She's gonna hold everyone accountable because she is you.
Okay, and that's so very, very important. That's so very important because this is someone that you may come before, you know, without even, you know, no one plans to go and stand before a magisterial district of justice. No one plans that. You might be involved in, God forbid, a traffic incident. Someone might run into your car, or someone might bang your car and then try to blame it on you, you know, and I believe that case will first be heard before a magistrate. Is that true?
As long as it's under that dollar amount threshold, that is correct.
Okay. Well, you might be receiving an eviction notice for whatever reason, you know. You may lose your job, get laid off, and now you cannot pay your rent on time. And you know, someone wants to hand you a 5-day or a 10-day vacancy notice. You know, vacant notice. You know, wants you to just pull up and leave. And so you need a magistrate that'll listen to you. You know, at least maybe hear you out. You know, and and consider your side of the equation, you know. And so it's very, very important to have someone there that can relate to you. You know? Is it the air or something? Can we turn the fan off or something, Chris? Because yeah, that they used to bother me sometimes too. Yeah, maybe if we cut that fan. Might be like a draft. Okay. Hopefully that'll be better. Yeah, so it's very important to have a magistrate that can relate to you and your concerns. And so we opened up the telephone lines and you know, we invited people to call in. You know, a lot of y'all will see this video, you know, later on after the program. And so if you want to get in contact directly with Miss Autumn Fair, you would give the website again or?
Sure, yes,
or
sir. It's
telephone
Autumn,
number?
A-U-T as in Tango, U, M as in Mary, and as in Nancy, the word for, F-O-R, judge.com. And I just want to really stress to this community the importance of this election. You know, a lot of us don't vote in off-cycle elections. So if it's not a president or it's not a celebrity running for office, we normally don't get up and go out. This is not the election for us to sleep at the wheel. We've been sleeping for 36 years. For 36 years, when it comes to our local court, we've been sleeping. Now, more than ever, we need to get up before we crash into this wall. If we allow this family to win this election, that will cross them over into 40 years. 40 years as the judicial authority in our community. We don't even see them in our community. We don't even see them in our community until it's time now. Until they feel a little threatened that somebody may be coming for what they believe is theirs. When in reality, again, this is the people's court.
Yeah, you have a closing statement you want to tell us?
Sure. So, get involved. Not only get involved if you don't live in the district. So if you don't live in Midtown Harrisburg or Uptown Harrisburg, you're somehow connected to the city. You know somebody that lives in the city. You know somebody that went to school in the city. You know somebody that's been before the court before. Reach out to 3 to 5 people. Say, listen, you know anybody uptown? You know anybody in Midtown? Are they registered to vote? You can go to my website. You can select how to vote for Autumn. There's actually an option there for you to verify that you're registered to vote and also to find out where to vote. We don't have a lot of time. We have a little bit of time. We have less than 60 days, and people can actually start voting by mail this week. We got to get ahead of this thing. We are more than capable of doing this. We have close to 9,000 people who are registered to vote. And in the last few elections, they've been winning with just about 1,100 votes. That's it. That's it. Let's do this. Let's believe in something. Let's believe in us. Let's fight for us. And by us, I simply mean anybody that's not them. That's really what it means. So that's my word in closing. Again, we can use your support. I've been saying all along, for me, this is not about politics, but this is about people. This is about representing people. And as I'm on the campaign trail, as I'm talking to people close to me, you know, there's a couple things that I pointed out this week.
Okay, excuse me, pardon me, I believe we have a call coming in now. Ron Chapel Show, you're on the air with Autumn Fair for Magisterial District Judge in the 12-01-02. Who are we speaking with?
You're speaking with Marsha Rochelle.
Hello, Michelle. Welcome to the show. And your question, your comment to Autumn?
My comment is, the Word of God tells us to write the vision and to make it plain. And I believe that Autumn Fair, when you write her name in and make it plain by filling in the oval, if you are a person who is looking for hope and change, she is the candidate that we need in this city so that we can see the change and the hope that we need.
Okay, but
Thank you. I'm short of words. Yes, thank you. I absolutely agree with that. And I think that people need something to hold on to, some hope to hold on to. As I'm going about the community, you know, every now and then I run into people who say, oh, it's them. Oh, they've done this for so long. Oh, nothing's gonna change. It will change. It will change if we take action. So thank you for those encouraging words. And we have written the vision. Our vision that we have written and made plain is that we will be victorious, that we will win. We believe that the people are going to not only show up and show out, but they are going to write in our name. They are going to fill in the oval. They are going to volunteer to support. They are going to continue to pour funds into the committee who is supporting this campaign as well.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Okay, we're about to close out now. I'm going to ask Miss Shantae P., world famous, the one and only Shantae P., if she cares to say anything, give a remark or any information.
Yes, always. Get out and vote. Remember Autumn Fair. When you're walking up to vote, to wherever you may vote at, if you don't know where to vote at, make sure you go to www.autumnforjudge.com and find out exactly where to vote at, because they have changed a few voting places from when you may have last voted. So check out the website. It gives you all the information. If you want a yard sign, if you want to know if you're registered to vote, it's just a click of a button. We made it simple and easy so that it's user friendly. You can just go on anything, any questions, pop it in. Someone will definitely get back to you, but we got to make a change. We got to take our seat back. We need someone in there that's going to make a difference. Thank you.
Okay. And ask yourself out there, voters, in a 12-1-02, can Matthew Pianca relate to your concerns? Can Matt Pianca relate to your concerns? And when is the last time you've seen him in the community other than primary election day? Pastor Chris Thomas, you have a closing word before we
best wishes. Again, you've been really putting boots to the ground as far as being active and involved and engaged in the community, with the community. You're not new to this, you're true to this, and we wish you heaven's best in this year campaign in Jesus' name.
Thank you. I received that word. Amen.
Amen. So I want to thank our very special guest, the one and only Shantae P., campaign manager for the Autumn Fair campaign, and I'm going to give the closing word to our very special guest, and we believe the next magistrate in the 12-1-02 magisterial seat, Miss Autumn Fair. Closes out, Miss Fair.
Thank you again. Thank you. I'm simply asking you to trust me, to put your confidence and your hope in me, as she mentioned, but to believe in the work that we're looking to do in this community. It's a very simple process. All you have to do is locate Magisterial District Judge on the ballot, on the blank line where it says write in my name, Autumn Fair, and fill in the oval. It's that simple. That's all it's going to take. Show up to vote and encourage somebody else to show up to vote this election cycle. Thank you for your support.
Okay, Miss Autumn Fair.
Hey.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Yeah. You knocked out. Is it off? The microphone off, Chris? You knocked it out the park.
Thank you.
Did well. It's Shantae